A lot of people keep saying Tank Davis is too small for Jake Paul, but that's a huge mistake. Anyone who steps into the ring with Tank, unless they're some kind of prehistoric beast, is going to feel his power. He's not an easy man to hit, and people underestimate how smart he is inside the ropes. He may not come across like some intellectual when he talks, but when it comes to boxing IQ, Tank understands that ring better than almost anyone. Down in Florida, he's been training like a monster, focused, explosive, and in perfect condition. Watching him hit the heavy bag is like watching a machine built for destruction. Every punch carries precision, power, and intent. People who think Jake Paul can handle that kind of punishment are fooling themselves. Those body shots alone could fold him. Observers are already comparing this fight to when Mike Tyson used to terrorize opponents. The talk in barbershops and gyms is all the same. Tank's going to destroy Jake because Jake won't even be able to touch him. Boxing fans are buzzing because Davis looks sharper than ever. His strength, timing, and movement are all on point, and that's got experts predicting a dominant performance. They believe that if Tank fights intelligently, using his speed, patience, and ring control, Jake doesn't stand a chance. The key, they say, is for Tank to stay disciplined and avoid chasing an early knockout. If he fights smart, his precision and counterpunching will be too much for Jake to handle. Analysts keep emphasizing that Gervonta Davis is more than just a knockout artist. His defensive skill and ability to read opponents are what make him truly dangerous. When he's patient, few fighters in the world can match him. Jake Paul, on the other hand, has never faced anyone with Tank's speed or experience. Jake's previous fights were against men who were tough but lacked Tank's technical ability. Experts say once Tank lands cleanly, Jake's defense won't be able to hold up. His chin hasn't been tested by a real elite puncher, and that could lead to a sudden, brutal finish. In the boxing community, the general feeling is that Tank is going to humiliate Jake Paul. Many believe Jake's strength and size won't mean anything when faced with Tank's speed, precision, and timing. They point out that Davis has fought real boxers his entire career, while Jake's resume includes aging MMA fighters and one or two boxers far past their prime. As one commentator put it, Jake can't take a body shot from a real fighter like Tank. The idea that his size will protect him is nonsense. Tank's power breaks down opponents who are conditioned, and Jake hasn't been through that kind of war before. The expectations on Tank are enormous. Fans say if he doesn't stop Jake Paul, it'll be a disappointment, not just for him but for boxing. They expect him to make a statement. To them, this fight is more than just an exhibition. It's about pride and reputation. They argue that if Tank really is as good as his supporters claim, Jake shouldn't last long. If he doesn't put Jake to sleep, fans will start questioning whether he still has that killer instinct. Tank's loyal followers say he carries the weight of the boxing community on his shoulders in this fight. They want him to show the difference between a professional fighter and a celebrity boxer. The biggest talking point surrounding this matchup is the weight difference. Jake Paul normally fights near 200 pounds, sometimes even heavier, while Davis is a natural 135-pounder. This fight limits them both to a maximum of 195 pounds, which is still much closer to Jake's comfort zone. Even so, Tank's fans insist that skill beats size every time. They argue that Davis's speed, timing, and intelligence will completely neutralize the weight advantage. Critics, however, say it's dangerous to put such a small man in the ring with a naturally bigger opponent. But this isn't the first time Davis has been counted out, and every time he proves why he's one of the most feared fighters alive. Despite the exhibition label, both men are treating the event seriously. It's scheduled for 10 3-minute rounds, with judges scoring the fight even though the results won't go on their official records. Still, fans are treating it like a real showdown. For Davis, it's an opportunity to show the world that his skills transcend weight divisions. For Jake, it's another chance to prove he belongs in boxing's spotlight. Former UFC champion Michael Bisping acknowledged Tank's extraordinary power and skill, but warned that size does matter. He praised Davis's intelligence in the ring, saying that if anyone could overcome the odds, it's him. Still, Bisping admitted that carrying extra weight might test Tank's endurance. Jake's punches, even if not precise, would have real mass behind them. But he also said that Tank's ring awareness and experience give him a major advantage. If Davis sticks to a flawless strategy, he can win despite the weight gap. Bisping pointed out that Jake Paul's fight history proves how far boxing has shifted toward entertainment. Most of Jake's events, like his bout with Mike Tyson or Nate Diaz, are spectacles rather than real competition. They draw eyes, but they don't necessarily reflect elite boxing skill. The same applies here. This fight is being promoted on Netflix, a major platform that guarantees massive global attention. Millions will tune in, not just for the sport, but for the spectacle. That's what Jake Paul has built his entire career around, creating events that attract mainstream audiences. Some experts criticize how Tank's career is often undervalued. They remind people that fighters who face Davis always come out more respected afterward. Even opponents who lose gain visibility and respect for sharing the ring with him. This shows just how influential he is in boxing. They argue that Davis deserves far more credit for what he's done, especially considering how many pay-per-views and headlines he generates. When fighters who lost to him can later headline their own events, it's a clear sign of his impact on the sport. Analysts also note that few fighters in boxing carry as much influence as Gervonta Davis. Outside of Canelo Alvarez, no one commands as much attention or drives as many discussions. Even his former opponents end up making pay-per-view appearances because of the name value they gain from fighting him. People say his resume isn't impressive, but it's his presence that elevates everyone around him. Coach Reg defended Tank against his critics, saying that Davis has already proven his legacy. Now he's earned the right to take big money fights. He pointed out that every fighter reaches a stage in their career when financial security becomes a priority. Tank came from humble beginnings, worked hard, and now deserves to enjoy the rewards. Reg emphasized that there's no shame in taking high-paying fights once you've accomplished your goals. He argued that people calling Tank a sellout for fighting Jake Paul are missing the point. This is prize fighting, and the prize matters. He added that Tank has been through personal challenges and that mentally, it might make sense for him to secure his bag and step away from the sport soon. He's already achieved so much at a young age. Whether he retires after this fight or not, he's already among the best lightweights of this generation. Many also point out the cultural side of Tank's popularity. As a black fighter from America, his every move is heavily scrutinized. When he has a close fight, critics jump on him more than they do with others. It's the same pattern that past stars like Floyd Mayweather, Andre Ward, and the Charlo brothers experienced, black champions being held to impossible standards. Tank's fame magnifies that pressure, but it also makes him one of the most recognized figures in boxing. His fights aren't just about the sport, they're cultural events. They carry meaning beyond the ring, representing pride, success, and visibility for a huge community of fans. Analysts continue to stress that Tank's technical mastery outweighs physical disadvantages. They say Jake Paul has power, but his fundamentals are still raw. His defense is wide open, and against a technician like Davis, that's a recipe for disaster. Tank's ability to time counterpunches and slip shots could make Jake look completely lost. Eddie Chambers even said that Jake's size won't save him because Tank knows how to use angles and momentum to turn an opponent's power against them. Chambers warned that underestimating Davis could be Jake's biggest mistake. Meanwhile, fighters like Stephen Fulton came to Tank's defense after hearing criticism that he's just chasing money. Fulton said everyone in boxing wants financial security, and there's nothing wrong with that. Tank already put in the work, built his name, and earned this kind of opportunity. He called the Jake Paul fight a side quest that allows Davis to get paid without damaging his legacy. Fulton reminded everyone that Floyd Mayweather did similar things, big crossover events that brought in massive audiences, and nobody doubted his greatness afterward. Even though the fight is being labeled an exhibition, there's still real danger involved. That's why athletic commissions hesitated to sanction it officially. Jake's size and Tank's smaller frame could lead to serious injury if something goes wrong. Still, both fighters are willing to take that risk for the money and exposure. Netflix's involvement ensures global coverage, and that's part of the appeal. This isn't just a boxing match. It's an entertainment event watched by millions. Experts predict the fight will draw enormous attention and break viewership records. For Jake, it's another spectacle. For Tank, it's an opportunity to show casual fans what elite boxing looks like. Whether it ends in a knockout or not, the matchup will blur the line between boxing and entertainment even more. It represents how the sport is evolving, where the spotlight isn't just about belts anymore. It's about moments, money, and media power. Still, hardcore boxing fans hope Tank uses the fight to remind everyone of what real skill looks like. They want him to dominate, to make Jake Paul look like an amateur trying to play in a world he doesn't belong to. They say that if Tank can deliver a highlight reel knockout, it'll silence critics and reaffirm why he's one of the most electrifying fighters of this era. As the date draws near, the hype continues to build. Every clip from Tank's training camp goes viral. Every quote from analysts sparks debate. And at the center of it all stands a fighter who's been doubted before, but always found a way to prove himself. Tank Davis isn't just fighting Jake Paul. He's fighting to protect his name, his pride, and his legacy. People can call it an exhibition or a money grab, but when the bell rings, it'll still be two men testing each other's limits. Tank's supporters are clear about one thing: he's not the type to play around. If he gets the chance, he's ending it early. Jake Paul might have the size, the fame, and the money, but Tank has the heart, the skill, and the power. And as everyone in the boxing world knows, those things can't be bought. Anyone who steps in with Gervonta Tank Davis is going to feel something they've never felt before. It's not going to be easy to touch him, and it's definitely not going to be easy to survive him.